I like these terms, hot January jobs reports. There are 130,000 new jobs added in January, which was far exceeding expectations. When it comes to something like that, how does that tie back into the affordability piece that you've been talking about?
Well, it's interesting. That's a good question, and this should sound logical to most folks. If you think about it, in terms of economic data, what would you think is going to have the most impact on housing? Because there's various data points we talk about all the time, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty obvious. What's going to affect housing, good or bad, probably more than anything else, is job creation. Because after all, if you want to buy a home, and especially at these levels where people have been complaining about high home prices and high interest rates, obviously, even if to the extent you want to agree with those descriptors, you're not going to have a chance to buy a home unless you're working, unless you have a job. And over decades, and certainly the decades I've been involved in this business, you can always see a direct correlation between job formation and what's happening to the job market, or I'm sorry, the housing market. And again, both good and bad. When we had the Great Recession of '08, obviously there was a lot of job loss then. It affects the housing market. So that correlation is strong, it's real, and it's pretty persistent. And again, good and bad. So right now, the media has been kind of perpetuating this narrative that the job market's, softening. It's, there's been recession word thrown around here in the last year or so, year and a half. And yet the recession, while it looks like, not job growth, but, U.S. economic growth in general has been a little weak lately and so forth. Well, if you look at the GDP numbers and then you look at this jobs report, it's not a surprise. We were what? We're basically in a 3 to 4% growth rate in the second half of 2025. So it's no surprise that you're going to eventually see this kind of number come out. And as a consequence, I argue this is a great predictor of the fact that I think we're going to see improvement in the housing market overall, simply because you've got so many more people who are getting added to the job market. And that, of course, is also seen by the unemployment rate.